You have a beautiful brain. You have a beautiful brain, and you have a beautiful brain, and you have a beautiful brain. We all have a beautifully designed brain and nervous system. Did you know that every baby is born with about 100 billion neurons? That's about the same number of stars in the Milky Way galaxy. And by the end of the baby's 8th month, he can have as many as 1,000 trillion connections in his brain. Did you know at its peak, the cerebral cortex of a healthy toddler may create 2 million synaptic connections per second? Did you know that the average adult brain weighs 3 pounds, is about the size of a cantaloupe, and it uses 20% of the body's oxygen? At 3 years of age, a baby's brain has reached almost 90% of its adult size. Also, did you know that the right side of the brain controls the left side of the body, and the left side of the brain controls the right side of the body? Our brain's like the little engine that could, always chugging along and saying, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. It's even working when we are sleeping. Anyone have a good dream last night? Our brains are designed from the bottom up and the inside out. To illustrate what I mean, I would like to use a prop. In fact, I see that each of you have already brought a prop, your hand. We'll use our hand to describe the triune brain. The idea that the brain consists of 3 layers, each built on the other, was first described by Dr. Paul MacLean in 1985. More recently, Dr. Daniel Siegel, a leading researcher at UCLA, came up with a hand model of the brain. If you hold up your open hand and look at your palm and wrist, this area could be described as the brainstem. This area controls a lot of our involuntary functions of our body, like our heart and our lungs, which is really good because when you go to sleep at night, you don't have to think about it. It just keeps working. When an infant comes into the world, this area of the brain is already fully ready to go. It's the rest of the brain that will require external input from caregivers in order for it to develop. Now, if you put your thumb in the middle of your palm, this area is called our limbic brain, or our emotional center of the brain. In this area are some very important functions for us when we talk about toxic stress and trauma. This area has the areas for the learning, for memory, and for danger, sometimes referred to as our fight or flight response. If you put the 4 fingers of your hand over the top of your thumb so that you have a fist, this area, including the back of the hand along the top of the fingers, is our cortex. It's our higher order area of our brain. This is where a lot of our thinking is centered. It also controls a lot of our visual centers of our brain, our balance, our motor development, both fine motor and gross motor. And it's the front 4 knuckles, right in the very front of their fist, which could be described as our prefrontal area of the brain. It's called prefrontal orbital area of our brain because it's right behind our eyeballs. And this is the area that is commonly referred to as our executive centers. The executive center of our brain controls things like organization, planning, follow-through, initiation, emotional regulation, cause and effect thinking, moral reasoning, and even ability for self-reference. That's that thing that says, I know who I am in relationship to other people. A very important part when it comes to social engagement. This is the last area of the brain to develop, and it doesn't reach its completion until the mid-20s. At birth, the baby has a fully functioning brainstem, but the rest of the body is waiting for external input. This is called being experience dependent. We described the triune or 3 areas of the brain, but I also believe that there's a 4th area. If you look below the palm of your hand model of the brain, you will see the area from the wrist all the way down to the elbow. This could represent the spinal cord with all the nerves that extend out from the spinal cord to the internal organs in every area of the body. Did you know that there are 43 different pairs of nerves which connect the nervous system to every other part of the body? 12 of these pairs are connected to the brain, while the remaining 31 are connected directly to the spinal cord. Did you know the nervous system is quick? It can transmit impulses at a tremendous speed of 100 meters per second. And did you know that the gut has 100 million nerve cells that make up its own nervous system separate from the brain? Talk about your gut instincts. I won't ask for any examples, but when you've got to go, the gut doesn't have to ask the brain for permission. One of the nerve pathways from the gut to the brain is called the vagus nerve. The brain interprets the signals from the vagus nerve as actual emotional information. Let me say that again. The brain interprets signals from the vagus nerve as actual emotional information. It doesn't know the difference. There is more and more research now on how the gut and GI conditions are linked to depression, anxiety, autism, and attention deficit hyperactive disorder. And there's a reason we call certain kinds of food comfort food. Comfort foods do affect our moods. Does anyone say chocolate? Within this nervous system in the body is a group of neurons called the autonomic nervous system. It is called autonomic because it operates without our conscious thought and on an involuntary basis. This system regulates the functions of our internal organ and some of our muscles. There are two main parts of the autonomic nervous system, the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. The sympathetic system is responsible for the fight or flight reaction in our body and is used to deal with stress or danger. The parasympathetic system deals with rest and digest from those stressors in our lives and returns us to a balanced state. When we encounter too much stress or it is not relieved, the sympathetic system becomes dominant and our parasympathetic system cannot return us to a balanced state. Over time, this part of the nervous system will become weak. Children who experience trauma are dysregulated or unbalanced neurologically. You might say that the beautiful brain can be broken. Daniel Siegel, who gave us a metaphor of the hand maul of the brain, describes this brokenness this way. Imagine a choir filled with talented singers, all who are singing their own songs at the same time. The sound, despite how talented each of them are, would be chaotic. But if you have a conductor who can focus the chorus, beautiful music will be the result. When trauma and toxic stress unbalances our nervous system, the different levels of our brain do not work in concert with each other. The left hemisphere does not work in concert with the right, the brain and body are not working together, and the body's sensory system behaves chaotically as well. The result are behaviors that look very strange and can be very scary. When that happens, we try to label them to make them seem more understandable, but we don't really understand what it is we are labeling. Trauma-informed care asks us to take a deeper look and to realize the impact that trauma has on individuals, families, and the community. To recognize the signs of trauma, to respond compassionately and effectively in our practices, policies, and procedures, and to resist re-traumatizing people.